Hi guys, today I want to talk about the hottest stock in 2019 and give you an update on that. And also show you another stock later in the video that is really sitting up nicely, and it may tick off all our boxes in our strategy to play a reversal pattern back to the upside. And it looks really good at this point. It may reach that entry point with all the factors that we look for. It may not, but I want to show you that later in the video. But first I want to talk about ROKU. And again, ROKU we've had a few times in our daily alert service as it was coming out of this high type flag here in February. Also when it was breaking out or about to break out of a high type flag here in May. And also we had it here in August, and this is the daily alert service that we have on our site, TradeToBeFree.com. And what you do on the site is you look through the list of featured trading opportunities, and we have our targets and our stop loss points and so forth as sort of a guide and ways to play this. What I want to do now is click on the chart. When you click on the chart, the latest one comes up. And in a prior video, we had a video a couple days later after we featured it here in August as it was breaking out, and we said it had a good chance of making a big move from there, and sure enough it did. And then later we had another video. We talked about this earnings flag, and a breakout above this high here was another good entry point for an earnings flag play, and that ROKU went another 20% from that point. And one of the exit strategies we talk about on the site in our videos many times is to put a stop on these type of stocks below the prior day's low. So if a stock, give you the right chart here, let's go to this one here so we can zoom in a little bit better. But when a stock like this gets off to a strong start out of this bullish pattern and starts to really take off like this, one of the great exit strategies to use is a close below, or either a close below or stop a little bit below the prior day's low. So like maybe a 0.5% below the prior day's low. And this stock ROKU had such a track record of making these big moves out of these strong patterns that's one great way of getting out of this trade. Is if it gets off to a nice start and really starts to accelerate to the upside, you can drop that stop just a little bit below the prior day's low, and that would have worked out really nice with this trade. But a very successful earnings flag trade. And then last week we mentioned that it hit a bearish candlestick pattern here, a very large bearish engulfing candle, and so that was a clear exit signal at that point. And also this was probably a either bear flag, or maybe we'll get more of a reaction down here. Maybe we'll retrace some of these, come back up and take another leg lower. But we thought it was a good or likely ABC down pattern developing. And after the video was produced, we also had a negative catalyst just before the Fed. And that's probably one of the best times to have a negative catalyst, is just before the Fed comes out with a key interest rate announcement and also commentary in the press conference, because a lot of money is held back. And you often get a lot of weakness Wednesday morning and also Tuesday morning, along with the end of the prior week and Monday. Okay, so if you get a negative catalyst like this on this, what looks like an ABC down pattern developing, that can be a good entry point on a short. And we tend not to short the top growth stocks in the market. You know, this is one that worked out really well for the shorts. You know, normally these don't work out really well because the long-term trend is still to the upside. So if you're a short seller, your timing has to be really, really good, because we had another bearish candlestick pattern here that didn't really work out, another one here and here that, you know, did okay. Another one here developing, it didn't work out, and so forth. So finally, after, you know, many, many tries, the shorts finally got it right here. So that's the problem with shorting stocks that have such strong financial performance and have that accelerating growth. And the timing has to be really impeccable with these. So we tend not to short these, but that was a good time to do it if you are going to do that, because we had the strong initial move down, the narrow consolidation and a bear flag, and then a breakdown below that with a catalyst. So that was a good short opportunity for those that wanted to take that chance with a lower percentage trade. But last week we talked about just sitting back and waiting for a good bullish candlestick pattern. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that, so we're still waiting for another bullish candlestick pattern to get back into the stock for another good entry point. At this point, when you have this kind of a pullback in a stock like this, you really need some consolidation normally. Occasionally you'll get a V bottom, and we've seen quite a few V bottoms over the past year, so potentially we could see a V bottom off the 150-day, let's say. The stock is closed, looks like it's about closed this gap down here to, looks like it's right around $100, this gap here on the earnings. So perhaps we'll get an open tomorrow below that, and then we'll see a bullish candlestick pattern and a V bottom from there potentially. But generally that's the outlier scenario, the V bottom. Usually you get some consolidation, and what we like to do is wait for a good consolidation pattern. So the earliest that I would be interested in going into this is if it maybe rebounds, forms a very good candlestick pattern potentially, with a lot of runway before the next level of resistance, or probably more likely a 1, 2, 3 trend change, or ideally a large double bottom pattern. And we talked about that more on the weekly alert this week, about that potentially coming up. But we'll keep on top of that and look for a really good entry point, and we could see that in the days or weeks ahead, and we'll feature that in the alert service. So that's one stock I wanted to cover today. The other one was Netflix. Netflix had another descending wedge, and that's a pretty bullish pattern. We had one, you can't see it in this chart, but if I bring this up and I expand this, you can actually see it. One we had in the alert service late last year that hit the entry point in here and made a really big move within a week or two. In this case, it broke out. This was the entry point around 290, and then made a 3-4% move. Looks like about 3% move. Okay, and then last Wednesday we had some negative news come out. We had Facebook come out with their own streaming box, so to speak, and we also had, I think it was Comcast, that came out and offered a free streaming box, their Flex. And they're offering it for free now. So there's more and more competition in this space, the streaming space. And I think it was Facebook's streaming box. They offer Amazon Prime, but no word on Netflix. So, but you've got more and more competition in this space with Amazon Prime and Disney Plus coming out, and Apple has their own streaming service. And so a lot of that news came out mid part of last week. And we saw some price confirmation to the downside, and we cut the trade. As soon as it, started falling here, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, it was starting to come down, and so we just cut the trade. So when we look for getting out of a trade, negative news, we want to see the negative news and some kind of price confirmation. So if it's gapping down in a big way, that's one scenario where we'll just cut the trade at the open, or even after hours or pre-market. Okay, if it's holding up pretty well, then we'll look for some kind of price confirmation. In this case, we had a bearish candlestick pattern here. So, on this day, a move below this low here after the news, perhaps below this low right here, the support level. That would have been a good exit point. That would have been about a 3.5-4% loss on that. I think we took about a 4% loss on this. And that's one part of the discipline of trading, is to look to see if there's any new news each day on a trade. Okay, so if the news is negative and there's price confirmation, we want to make sure we catch that in the morning or in the evening whenever it comes out. And as long as we see the negative news and that price confirmation, we generally just cut the trade at that point. And so we did that with Netflix. But that's one aspect of our trading methodology that we cover in detail on the site. If you go to the site, you'll see that in our alert service we link to those primers, to the strategy and how to follow up each day with your trade and how to manage it effectively. And the other stock I want to show you now, here's a stock that's setting up really nice. We had this mentioned in the closing comments last week in the weekly alert. We talked about Splunk coming down. It looks like it may be forming a double bottom pattern in this large consolidation here. And we said that if it moved above this high here, that we may see it move another 4-10% or so, or that's our first target area in that first 4 to 10% profit area. And we can see that it hit the price pretty quickly and came really close to that 50-day moving average, which is acting as resistance. So once you see that kind of move and you see a test of a key moving average, here it's the the 200-day moving average actually. And once it hits that and just stops there or starts to come down, you can take some profit there. But usually in that 4 to 10% range, if we stop moving higher, then we want to take some profits, okay, and then stop at a little bit below our entry point. But this stock may set up another good entry. We can see that there's this downtrend resistance here. If we connect the highs, we have at least 3 highs that are connected with a straight line here. So we have this channel, this downtrending channel that was formed and then broken with this latest move higher. Okay, now it's doing that first pullback. And so now if we turn around and come back and break this prior high here, that could be another good entry point for this stock. If the market holds up, if we don't see any really strong bearish action in the market to turn us more bearish or more neutral in the market, if that doesn't occur, then we'll be looking to maybe get into a trade here if it breaks this prior high. But right now, what we're looking for is a catalyst, a new fresh catalyst with each trade. So not only do we want to see the stock hit a good entry point, we also want to see something new that's happening that should increase value of the company. And that combination is very effective, especially in a market like we have right now where the market's trying to get out of a long consolidation, and we have more news upcoming later this week with impeachment talk again later this week, on Thursday especially. So the market will probably pull back on that. And then we have trade news coming up in the weeks ahead as well. And a lot of that could be negative, especially leading up to it, as more posturing is likely to occur ahead of any potential deal, which may or may not happen. So with all of that, we're going to see more choppiness, more volatility in the market. We have earnings starting in mid-October. Okay, so we're likely to see more volatility in the weeks ahead, and so we really want to see a catalyst as the price hits a good entry point. So definitely look for that. We're seeing a lot of suboptimal trading opportunities that are hitting the entry point, pulling back without that catalyst. They're pulling back, okay, a little bit below the entry point, and then coming back and kind of hanging out a little bit below the entry point. We just have to see if those stocks get a catalyst or if the market, gets through these negative headlines over the next, week, 2-3 weeks to see if it continues its trend higher. But the end of September and early October are notorious for pullbacks, market pullbacks. So in that kind of environment, we definitely want to see the catalyst. And usually you see about 1 in 5 of the stocks that hit a good entry point have the catalyst. So it takes patience. Like with any trading strategy, you have to pick the best opportunities. And when you have that great stock, great long-term trend, a good catalyst, and the stock hitting a good technical entry point, that combination is very effective. And that's what we'll be waiting for in the days and weeks ahead. All right, well, that about wraps it up today, guys. On the site, you might want to check out the explosive bottoming mean pattern. Go to the list of top trading patterns on our site. It's in our menu on TradeToBeFree.com. You can look that up, and we have those courses available too on that pattern. If we get a pullback, which I think we will in the days or weeks ahead here with all the news that's forthcoming, that pattern may set up really nicely, especially with earnings coming out soon too. And also the earnings eruptions strategies on the site as well, and that'll be definitely in play here as we head into earnings season. So you want to check that out, and we'll keep that blog updated too for you, and we'll talk to you again real soon.